Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Hey, just reveling in a victory here. I'm hoping that my screen name that I use on these Riverside things, if you're watching live today, I'm using Touchdown Taj, which I know he didn't get a touchdown today, but last time I used RTDB for run the damn ball. So maybe next game Taj will run the ball more and get a touchdown, get in the end zone. That was really nice to see. Probably the highlight of the evening for me. I've talked long enough. How are you?
It's good, man. A little delayed coming in because I had 18 different things muted, trying to figure out where I was supposed to have hot. And here we are, man. We're just rolling.
Just a couple of hot mics.
Well, it's supposed to be hot, and it was taking a second to get there. Have some thoughts on Shuck, Michael. Have some thoughts on Morton. And just the offense in general. But you get the win. Convincing win. I think whatever, I mean, it wasn't an actual line, but I think it was set at like 36.5 on the ESPN app. You hit that. You covered. I would have wanted the shutout there, but
yeah,
very nearly had it with the Baskerville very near interception there on the goal line. Ends up holding to a field goal there, but you win the game by 38 points. I think that was larger than the margin we predicted or projected in our preseason, or not preseason, our preview episode earlier this week. I mean, I thought we would get to about 40 something points, but I thought we were going to give a little more.
same. Yeah,
you really like defensively, like you clamped down on for the majority of the game. You got some pressure, some pass rush from Miles Cole. Got a couple of sacks there, which were fantastic to see. Malik Dunlap, man, had himself a game, had 2 interceptions, nearly had a third. Rabbit had an interception. So defensively, man, you were all over him. You turned him over 3 times. You held him to just 197 passing yards, 145 on the ground. I think a lot of those ground yards came late. Let's see if I can pull it up from Tarleton. So they picked up 22, 42 plus 45. What is that? 87, 168 of their total yards on their final 4 drives.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Whereas, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the 9 drives before that, they had 150 maybe. So basically, they picked up 70% of their offensive yards second half of the third quarter on, which happens, right? As you're going through your depth, you're getting guys in there. You're rotating a little bit more on defense. It happens. I'm not upset about about the defensive performance at all. I actually thought it was really good. When you're holding, their offense. Granted, again, they played that set a lot in the broadcast, especially late. That Tarleton State was scoring 52 points a game.
52 points a game. 52 points a game.
They scored 52 points a game. And again, it was like, what was it, McNeese State and Northern Alabama or something. And obviously they hadn't played an FBS opponent, but I mean, they really didn't even sniff the Tech side of the field until well into the second half. They had a 12-play, 48-yard drive, the first drive of the second quarter for them. It took 4.5 minutes, but ended on turnover and downs. I mean, they went interception, punt, interception, turnover and downs, punt, half, punt, interception, turnover on downs, punt. Their first, 10 or 11 drives. So got a field goal there on their second to last drive, and then they ended the game with the ball. So,
Yeah, they got in the red zone twice.
So defensively, I think you performed as expected. Their all-star receiver, their all-world receiver they had coming out of game 2, he had like 211 yards. Finished the night with 0. Did he catch a pass?
Well, are you talking?
Or was it Smith?
Hang on just a second. Are you talking about Darius
Maybe
Cooper?
Jaden Smith.
Oh.
A lot of sense when you look at that. Besides, they just weren't in a good spot to run the ball all night. But I mean, they averaged 4.4, 4.5, 6.1 yards per carry. And they between the three of them ran the ball 30 times. But that all came in the second half. Or the majority of those yards came in the second half. Oh, good. Am I gone?
Can you hear me? I can see you, and I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Am I back, Michael? You hear me? You got me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Oh, I can't hear you. This is great.
Fucking great.
Anyways, we're gonna move ahead real quick. We're just gonna get through this. Instant reaction for y'all. Texas Tech takes down Tarleton State 41-3. We were just going through defensive stats, not at all upset or have any gripes about how the team defensively performed, especially when you force 3 turnovers. On the offensive side of the ball, I have some more questions there. In that, you started the day with a 3 and out on a sack, and then you go 3 and out. Michael, are you there? Still can't hear you.
This is good. It's great. I don't know what to do.
You can hear me. I think everybody else can hear us both, which is just.
I think on the stream, YouTube
can
hear us.
But if I can't hear Michael, I can hear the great points he's going to make that are going to make me look bad, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I post screenshots of plays, Michael, and that obviously makes me stupid. Tyler Shuck, end of the day, completing 50% of his passes, 10 of 20 for 123 yards, so 12.3 yards per completion, but like 6.1 yards per attempt. 1 touchdown. Did not have an interception though. And then Shuck did run the ball 6 times for a net 0 yards. I think we saw quite the swing on how the running game was attacked this week, and that Brooks carried the ball 19 times, and Shuck only got 6, so almost the exact flip from what you saw last week when Shuck had 23 and Brooks had 6. Brooks had 6 carries within the first quarter, and hit like 100 yards in the first half, 110 yards. Finished with 158 on 19 carries, good for 8.3 yards per carry with a 38-yard long. Did not score a touchdown. Shuck had the only rushing touchdown on the day. You did get Nehemiah Martinez involved on the ground, 6 carries, 38 yards. He was looking pretty good. And then Bryson Donnell there later in the game came in. He had 4 carries for 15. Long of 12. Baron Morton had 3 carries for 11. So you finished 39 carries as an offense, 221 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, and 1 rushing touchdown. Michael, without your thoughts here, I don't know if we
Can
just
you
need
hear me?
to,
I tried again. No, you can't hear me.
if I need to bounce back. So, all right. I will try leaving and coming back.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay. So thanks for anyone who's still here, bearing with us. Technical difficulties. We use Riverside to do this, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And this is one of those times where you're getting to see it live. But to go back on what Spencer was saying, he was talking about Taj Brooks. I wanted to share some knowledge with you. As of tonight, he more than doubled his carries on the year. So I know Spencer just shared what he did tonight: 19 carries, 158 yards, 8.3 yards per carry tonight. Coming into tonight, he was 18 carries, 11 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. So in one game, he doubled his number of carries in the first two combined, which seems like an obvious game plan. And I hope that that's the case and it's not a scheme against a quote unquote lesser opponent. I hope this is something that we'll actually get to see more often and see the man work, because he runs hard. He finds the open places. He's patient too. So let's give him the ball. Let's get him in the end zone. That's what I'd hope to see too. I I know that we're just kind of floating along here, so hopefully Spencer won't repeat stuff I've already said since he can't hear me. But sacks, Tech finally got some sacks tonight. It took a while. It was on a 4th and 2 with about 5 minutes left in the third, but they were able to come away with, that kind of opened the floodgates necessarily. Like Spencer said, it really hurt to open the game, especially after electing to receive. To open the game with a 3-and-out and just a complete blown up, in your face, dominating sack. And then in the same drive, Shuck overthrows a receiver 10 yards. Just a killer way to start. Things got a little better, but I felt like there were a lot of missed throws tonight by Shuck. I felt like he overthrew guys a lot, or didn't even really make an attempt on some of the guys that were open. You could see a difference with Morton on that. I've always been one hesitant to call for QB2, partially because I feel like it's cliched and everyone does that, because they can always say, well, Morton would have made that throw. You have that in your hip pocket the whole time. So that's part of my reason. And because I trust the coaching staff, I think they know more than I do. But Morton did take some more chances tonight. He seemed to have better luck with his receivers. Those 2 touchdown throws were really well thrown. I think Price's route, he kind of cut too far in towards the goalpost before going back to the corner. I think that would have looked a little prettier but he was probably doing that to get open. I felt like Morton threw the ball right where it needed to be, and Miles probably wouldn't have had to extend quite as much had he not cut in so much, but that's probably how he got open. And then his second touchdown pass was just in perfect stride on a drag route that he hit with no problem. I think that one interception appeared to be a miscommunication with Fungi. That was pretty obvious. When your receiver starts blocking 30 yards downfield, I'm not really sure what Fungi thought the play was to suddenly start blocking that far away, but it sure made that interception easy for the Tarleton State defender. But I did like what I saw from Morton. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it was ever going to be enough. It sounds like Shuck's going to be the guy no matter what. And I would be very surprised if someone else comes out against West Virginia. Now, West Virginia tonight, let me see. I had this pulled up on my trusty tablet here. West Virginia tonight, their quarterback went out, but I don't know if he ever came back in. I don't think he did. He went out. Garrett Green went out. Looked like a leg or an ankle injury in the first quarter. against Pitt tonight, but West Virginia held on. I mean, it was a tough game. Went into halftime. West Virginia's up 7-6. Went on to score 10 in the third, and that was it. So 17-6. West Virginia takes down Pitt and kind of redeemed themselves a little bit. Got a little swagger, getting ready to host Texas Tech. So that's something to look for, and also something to look for is Garrett Green's status. They were able to win without him. I think. I didn't keep a super close eye on this game because Tech's game was going on at the same time, but I don't think he came back in. No, he threw 2 passes, and that was that. Oh, this is funny. This can't be right. So the backup quarterback came in and threw 9 passes. So as a team, they went 6 for 11. That's incredible. Spencer, can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh my gosh, that's so great.
I heard.
I feel like I did a good job. It was a very good solo
I'm
show.
sure
there
it was
for
great.
A while.
I will hear the rest of it in a little bit. When I was able to join in, you were talking about the interception that Morton threw, where Fungi started blocking.
Yeah.
And then immediately
why would-
Morton got on his ass on the side, like,
Oh,
what
man.
are you
Yeah.
doing?
That was kind of an odd. I guess. I mean, maybe he just assumed that. I don't know. Maybe he assumed that somebody had just gotten turned loose. That Donnell had just broken a big run. I don't know.
Or he just had the wrong play. I don't know.
It wasn't good timing either, because that was right when Ryan Leaf was talking about Morton's decision making and how he seemed to be taking more chances tonight than Shuck, and then he threw an interception.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah.
I don't know what you brought up. I don't want to go back and repeat everything. Just give my quick thoughts here. In a game where you're supposed to look good and you're supposed to move the ball, Shuck looked like Shuck. He didn't look like the Shuck we saw last year. He looked like the Shuck versus Oregon and versus Wyoming. Like, I guess to his credit, like, doesn't play up or down to his opponents. He just is what he is. But I mean, I don't know. You can come in here and say like, oh, well, based on what Baron Morton did, he should obviously be the starter. He did seem like there was a response. The offense did seem to change, and I don't know if it was just the play calling because it was just a different player, or everybody was just like just energized a little bit differently to see something else. The crowd was certainly into it. They were chanting Baron like his first few plays. But I don't know, man. I just there's not going to be a quarterback controversy. You can't convince me that what we saw tonight versus, you were supposed to put up 41 points on them regardless. Shuck put up, what was it? 17?
Yes, because it was 24.
24-0 at the half.
Yeah.
And then he got one drive in the second half, and it was a 3-and-out. So we're like, oh, he's going to get one drive in the second half, which we heard. And then came out and played, and I was being snarky on our on the Discord. I was like, well, silver lining, it was a quick drive. It was a 3-and-out. We get Morton here pretty quick.
It was
Morton.
We talk about we're supposed to win this. We're supposed to win this game like this, but I was frustrated with the offense.
No, I was too.
To go 2 of your first 8 drives only ending in a touchdown. Yes, they had 2 field goals thrown in there as well, but this is an FCS team. You're at home. You should not have to punt 5 times before the end of the third quarter.
Can I point something else out here, guys? A drive started by Morton did not end in a punt.
Also true.
The drives for Shuck went punt, touchdown, touchdown, punt, field goal, punt, punt.
Granted,
Morton comes in.
Morton's first drive was awful, and it was basically a punt because he got handed good field position because it was a field goal. So he basically went 3-and-out. I mean, it was a bad first drive.
4 plays, 2 yards. But because of the because they took over on an interception, because the field, whatever I'm trying to say, wherever they took the ball over, they were able to put points on the board, even though they only picked up 2 yards. And then the next 2 drives put up 2 touchdowns, and then Morton's final drive was the interception, which I think we can place on there being a miscommunication. I don't know if it was a Morton thing or a Fungi thing. Doesn't really matter because it ultimately ends the same way. So you get the one turnover of the night is attributed to Morton, but the offense certainly looked a whole lot different, and you were efficient. Once Morton got those first few plays out, right? Like he hadn't played all year, so those like his first few plays went 2 yards. But the next drive went
Yeah,
47
next drive
yards
was yeah.
in a minute. And then the next drive, 14 plays, 5.5 minutes, touchdown. And then the interception. So, I love having Morton. I love that, he's available for us if and when something happens to Shuck. I wish we would be able to get more of Morton. So
I think this was something I mentioned. I don't think you heard it, but do you think that handing the ball to Taj Brooks as much as we did tonight, do you think that was just because of who we were playing, or do you think that was a correction in the offensive scheme for the year? And I'm really hoping it's the latter.
maybe both, right? Like, um, I know Kitley said on Monday he doesn't look at number of carries in game, but I think looking at everything after the fact and be like, oh man, like our starting running back carrying the ball only 6 times, and he was actually doing pretty well. Like maybe we need to kind of feed him more, right? Um, and then obviously with the just the nature of who it was that you were playing, like they should have been outmatched along the lines, and I wouldn't say that like, well, I don't know. I don't have the best memory here. And I'm saying like all the big running plays were up the middle and they were just busting big holes in the defense. But I do feel like a lot of that is attributable to just the running backs having opportunities to make plays. Right, you give them the ball, they're going to have more opportunities. Brooks is a great running back. Um, whether or not he get the best blocking up front, because I'm not a big believer in our offensive line right now. Still with the ball in his hands, like he's got the opportunity to make a play. When if it's not, then obviously he can't do it. So it's kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense. But yeah, so I do think like part of the game plan, looking ahead at an FCS opponent having the size advantage, you should be like, we should be able to run the ball, and you did 221 carries. Sorry, 221 yards on 39 carries, and you only threw the ball. Well, you threw the ball 33 times, and you ran 39. And obviously a lot of that, you're never behind. Um,
You're down a couple guys too. Valdez still isn't playing.
mm-mm.
I mean, I think he was listed on the pregame show as a break in case of emergency. I think he was suited up, but they had no intention of playing him unless they absolutely had to. But to see, even if you take out, there's two things here. I absolutely love that the first time they hand touchdown Taj the ball, he rattles off 38 yards. I mean, just out the gate. So even if you take that 38-yard gain, his out of what he was able to do tonight, his yards per carry only drops from 8.3 to 6.7. Still pretty incredible. So statistically, he gets a first down every other time you hand him the ball. Sort of.
Yep.
If you only ran the ball. And
Yeah.
he actually got 6.7 yards every single carry. A lot of
Yep,
ifs.
that Brooks carry was the first play of the second drive.
Yeah.
Um, rush up the middle for 38.
Boom.
And I didn't see it. We were driving back from a dinner tonight, but I was listening to it, and Brian Jensen just was painting a word picture about Mason Tharp just obliterating somebody and opening up the lane for Brooks there. I was like, man, I'm gonna love to go back and watch that one.
I was totally
Um,
Leoing it when I was on my couch just pointing. Like that's it. That's it. That's what I want to see. This is why you
yeah,
give touchdown Taj the ball.
I hope he snapped too. Um, like okay, so that drive is a thing of beauty, right? Like okay, so Taj rush up the middle, um, Shuck pass for 2 yards, Shuck pass for 3 yards, sorry, for 6 yards. Then it's Taj, Taj, Taj. Unfortunately, it ends with a
Yeah.
touchdown, not from Taj, but
Well, it was
like
he had
them
the
like going
option
back
to,
to
and he
Taj.
kept it.
Yeah. Well, that's a Shuck thing. Apparently, he likes to call his own number.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it. This was like actually when we were transitioning from car to inside. I heard it. I haven't seen that run yet. I don't know if like the defense, like if Shuck really could have just handed it off, or if he's like, I'm gonna take this one in
It was a
myself.
really, it was a really wise decision. Everybody
Okay,
was stacked
well
on
that's on
the.
him then.
I think everybody was stacked on the strong side, and that's where Brooks was headed. And he'd been handed the ball. I mean, he'd been obliterating them
Yeah,
that whole
well 3 times in a
drive.
row.
And so Shuck kept it and just waltzed in on the weak side. I'm not the best at remembering X's and O's on plays, but it did seem like the right call to make. But it was just kind of a
Okay,
shame
good.
Brooks didn't get to actually go in the end zone.
Yeah. Well, okay. Um, anything else you want to touch on? I don't remember the name or number because we were muted there for a second, but obviously wouldn't send good thoughts up to that Tarleton State player that went down. I don't have any information on what happened. They didn't even show it to a replay, but if they're leaving on a backboard and a neck brace, that's not always good. First good signs was that the trainer that was at whatever that was riding the back was patting his leg. It's like, well, he wouldn't be doing that if he couldn't feel anything. And then he got the double thumbs up from the
Yeah.
player on his way out, which is always a good sign. But hopefully, it's like a stinger or something, and it's just trying to be a little,
Extra
taking
cautious.
a little extra caution there.
Yes.
And he's able to go home with the team tonight or tomorrow. Um, I was telling somebody that early in the game, I was like, I every time I see Ramirez on the field, like I absolutely just love it. I just like so proud of it. It's like I just hate for that to happen to anybody else where they have to stay behind from their team, um, because it is just a completely just an ordeal for everybody involved.
And I
But
feel like the broadcast team handled it well. Some just in general, teams have gotten or broadcast teams have gotten so much better about that in the last several years of not gratuitously showing things over and over, or even just over analyzing what happened, but just kind of talking through it and checking with sideline reporter, and just trying to get an update and not uh, going too much into detail on how this young man got hurt and what possibly could be hurt and all of that.
yeah,
Did you want to run through some Big 12 scores? Because boy, I do.
well, let's get to it. I
Okay.
did hear you were talking about the West Virginia. I had that one on during halftime. I did hear that they ended up pulling it out. That's awesome.
Yes.
Ooh, Cincinnati's in
Yes.
overtime. Is that where you're looking at?
Well, not
Where
just
do you want to
that, but
start?
let's start in Stillwater, my friend. So
Let's
South
see. Let's find that.
Alabama,
Oh, holy shit!
South Alabama took a little trip down to Stillwater and beat the Cowboys
Beat him like
33
a
to 7.
drum, Michael. Holy crap!
33 to 7.
What the hell happened?
I don't know. Uh, I'll roll through a couple of the boring ones. UCF annihilated Villanova 48-14. Baylor took care of Long Island 30 to 7. Tulsa was very outmatched against the Sooners at home.
But the
They
rest
lost
of them,
66-17.
the rest of these are actually pretty juicy.
Oh, yes, they are.
Let's start up in Ohio, Michael.
Please.
Poor Iowa State. I saw this. I can't remember who said it. I did see it. I didn't actually see the score. It may have been Cyclone Larry. It was like, I'm tired of being Ohio's Super Bowl.
Yes.
Um,
He
Iowa
said this
State
exact
loses.
same tweet last week when they lost to Iowa. I
Um,
think he just changed Iowa to
Iowa,
Ohio.
Ohio. Ohio takes down Iowa State at home 10-7. That sounds brutal.
Imagine allowing 10 points and losing.
They were all 17 of those points came in the second half. Ohio scored their one touchdown in the third quarter and then a field goal in the fourth. Iowa State got their touchdown in the fourth quarter. It looks like Iowa State kicked a field goal that may have gone like over the uprights and was called no good. So
Over the bridge? Oh no, they were on the
no,
road.
because they're on the road. They
Yeah.
they had a little Sooner action there in Lubbock when the Sooners kicked a field goal there last year and went over the uprights. So
Don't kick it so high. Simple.
Baylor only putting up 30 against Long Island. Meh.
They're a defensive team.
Okay. So Missouri hits a walk-off game winner, 61 yards, Michael, against Kansas State.
That thing would have been good for 70. That was incredible. I mean, pegged it down the middle. And it was a cluster F to get to that point because Mizzou didn't have any timeouts. And so they got a first down and then they clocked it. And so then the play clock's just running. They have 6 seconds left. No one's paying attention to that. And they have to get a delay of game.
So they could have kicked it like a 56-yarder.
They got moved back. Well, not even that. They got moved back 5 yards. And then this was also crazy to me. No timeouts. They chose to run a play. And they ran a play. And miraculously, it took exactly 3 seconds. I can't remember if they gained anything on it or not. But then, so they had 3 seconds on the clock when they kicked it through the uprights. That was just kind of fortuitous on their point. I don't. They almost lost it, but their kicker was like, "Nah, y'all." I'm telling you, man. If you haven't seen the replay, that thing would have been.
I'm just watching it right now.
Incredible.
Obviously, with the way it ends the game, very reminiscent of Garibay walking off against Iowa State. His was longer though, so let's give props there.
Yeah, 63.
But
was it 62?
I think it was 63.
Okay.
65 even. Let's not short the man.
I'm trying to remember how Jensen says it. I feel like it's 2 because I think his voice cracks on 2.
But
62 yard.
But both of the Kansas State and Iowa State both had a guy back there to return it in case he missed, and both just like looked up and watched the ball go in. Like that's not coming to me.
They should have just called it good too.
Um,
Let's get to what Mr. BDC said in the chat. Let's see what's going on down in Austin. Do you have an update for that?
Yeah. So right now with 9:40 to go in the fourth quarter, Texas has the ball. They are up 17-10 on Wyoming. Wyoming, they do have second and goal from the 2, so it looks like they're threatening to score here. Are the Longhorns? Wyoming did score a 62-yard rushing touchdown on their 5th play of the game.
Oh gosh, I didn't know it was that type of a play. I knew they scored first. I knew it was a 7-0.
Yeah. 12:45, yeah, like the first drive. Wow. 12:45 left in the first quarter. Whaley, which I don't even think is a guy that we saw.
They have like 19 running backs.
Yeah. Whaley runs it in for 62 yards. Texas responds with a field goal, 37-yard field goal, and then they go up 10-7 with 11:45 left in the second quarter. A 1-yard touchdown pass from Mr. Ewers.
If I had the Longhorn Network, I would watch it, but I don't. It's too bad.
They just scored. Ewers ran it in, 5-yard touchdown. So they're going up 23-10 right now, looking like it'll be 24-10. And they had a 44-yard pass to Xavier Worthy to break the tie there in the fourth quarter. So
that might be one of the only covers I get today because, oh boy, my all of my picks today, I'm over 9 right now, Spencer. This is how in tune I am. Because I try to make a pick on every Big 12 game. Sometimes it's the over or the under. Sometimes it's actually, the points. Um, and so I did that today. And yeah, I've been terrible. But Wyoming at plus 29.5 is looking okay
well,
for now.
you got 9 minutes of game time left.
I know.
Um,
I know. A lot can happen.
So West Virginia looks like they're going to hold on. They're up 17-6 with a minute to go in the fourth. That game is still going on as we speak. BYU driving with the ball, 2:44 left in the game. They are up 38-31 in Fayetteville. I think I called for an Arkansas win and cover here, so good on the Cougs. Two more ongoing games. TCU Houston. So you got a Big 12 matchup. TCU up 29-13, which is just it feels like a under 12-minute basketball timeout score. 29-13.
Someone got on a run and we had to call timeout. They hit a layup and 2 threes.
They hit a couple
in
of
row.
threes. Yeah, you're like,
let's come on.
Let's take a break. Start of the fourth quarter there in Houston. Kansas at Nevada. That one is about halfway through the first quarter. Kansas up 7-0. Remember, they are a 28-point favorite in this game.
So I think the other Nevada.
only other game we haven't talked about is Miami, Ohio. So both Miami teams. Sorry. No, not both Miami. 2 Ohio teams taking down Big 12 teams. So Ohio over Iowa State, then Miami of Ohio take down Cincinnati in overtime, 31-24. And I thought I picked a Cincinnati win and cover there. Anyways, see, it's weekends like this, Michael, that says like, well, Texas Tech offense, like it may not be great, but like we didn't get smoked at home by South Alabama. We lost to what looks like a decent Wyoming team. It's not Miami of Ohio or Ohio. We won big against our FCS opponent, unlike Baylor. West Virginia may be a little bit better, even though they're going to be without Green. BYU may be a little bit better than we expected going on the road and at least fighting with Arkansas right now.
Especially that offense. I really didn't. I had not been impressed with their offense too much. I think they beat Sam Houston 14-3 or something in week 1.
Yeah. So they are turning in the right direction. Are the Cougars. So
I think what you're getting at is it's kind of anybody's game. The Big 12 race is probably going to be really. There's going to be a lot of good parity. It's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be pretty fun, and it's going to raise our bread pressure. That's it. That's how you say it.
Okay, hold on a second. Is that Cincinnati game not over yet? It just went from being final to being an overtime on the app.
Mine's I'm on CBS Scores and it's telling me the same thing. It just says final OT.
But the ESPN app went backwards. It went from being final to now being in overtime. Nope.
Hang on. That maybe over. Cincinnati turned the ball over.
No, it's over.
Because in overtime, Miami, Ohio scored a touchdown and the PAT was good. But maybe Cincy threw an interception or fumbled it or something. They did. They threw an interception. Oh, 7 plays, 31 yards, and an interception in overtime. That'll do it. That'll end the game. That's a crappy way to lose.
Yeah, sucks to suck. Okay, West Virginia just went final 17-6. So you got Kansas, TC, Houston, Texas, and BYU still playing. But 24-10 in Austin. All right. I think that'll do it for us. 23 Personnel Podcast. We will have your West Virginia preview on Tuesday. We'll be back here on the stream Tuesday night between 9 and 9:30. Start time. Game will be 2:30 Central in Morgantown. Hope to see Texas Tech go on the road and take down a conference opponent, start 1-0 in conference play. You can't win the conference unless you win your conference games, Michael. We're done with the nonsensical out-of-conference stuff now. The real season starts this week, Michael. Anyways, out there for us, the 23 Personnel Podcast. Thanks for joining us on the stream, for the instant reaction. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.